Where exactly does gratitude rest upon our shoulders? Imagine there's a scar. If you look closely under a microscope, you'll see a stamp on that scar, certified by the Pasteur Institute. To whom do we owe this scar? It is thanks to Louis Pasteur. He invented vaccines and generously gave this formula to the entire world without holding on to any patent rights. Isn't such selflessness giving a clear sign of true moral greatness? Why are many people not grateful to Pasteur? Because they lack knowing. Hence, there can be no gratitude. Conversely, once you know this was Louis Pasteur's contribution, offered freely for humanity, you naturally feel gratitude, naturally wish to thank and honor him. Thus, knowing becomes the pillar of wisdom, and gratitude the pillar of morality. Instead of merely teaching children gratitude, teach them understanding and morality. When they grow up, gratitude naturally arises. Whenever they meet someone, they will naturally feel grateful, simply because they understand that person. With morality, they'll develop empathy for others, naturally cultivating a grateful heart. It's really that simple. On the other hand, if you teach gratitude without a foundation of understanding, they might develop blind gratitude, even becoming grateful toward harmful people and inadvertently supporting wrongdoing. This is truly dangerous, as our responsibility when encountering evil is to prevent it. The same applies to love. As Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully said, understanding and love. There can be no love without understanding. Understanding represents wisdom, while love represents morality. If we truly wish to love one another, we should first ask ourselves, do we really understand each other? Without understanding, love cannot exist. For those experiencing fractures in relationships, ask yourself again, have you truly understood each other? Have you genuinely understood each other's suffering and pain? Have you honestly understood the blockages in your own mind? Close your eyes and seek to understand yourself deeply. Close your eyes and genuinely understand the person in front of you. Truly understand your spouse or partner. When someone doesn't understand you, have you gently tried to explain things clearly? Have you given them the chance to listen and absorb your message? If not, how can you expect understanding? If you find it difficult to express yourself verbally, try writing everything down, every thought, every pain, every blockage you're feeling. Give this to your partner to read and ask them to do the same. Sit down together and seriously exchange these writings. If at any moment either of you raises your voice beyond a certain decibel, tape your mouth shut, no more talking. This exercise embodies the principle of connecting through understanding and love, bonding through knowing and gratitude. It's because you truly understand who your partner is, you recognize their nature, that gratitude naturally arises within. Without understanding, gratitude will never bloom. Many people mistakenly expect someone to perfectly match them, but among 7 billion humans, can anyone be 100% compatible with you? Each person is unique, each life shaped by different karmic forces. Absolute similarity is impossible. There will always be some discrepancies, and it's our job to bridge those gaps through understanding. If you demand perfection, you'll only meet disappointment. The only perfect person was the Buddha, and even he has passed away, leaving only an image on the altar to admire from afar. Therefore, many of you stumble by demanding unrealistic expectations of your partners. Instead, try to communicate clearly and patiently. If communication proves difficult, seek the guidance of a counselor. Having a referee can reduce conflict significantly. Remember, when we express ourselves, we introduce the element of understanding. Yet, understanding must always be accompanied by compassion. Don't let conflicts escalate into hostility or harshness. Avoid situations where each sentence feels like a punch. Ease unnecessary tensions and approach each other with kindness. When you feel grateful and want to repay someone's kindness, if it's a small favor, you don't need much willpower. But what if returning that favor involves significant difficulty? Would you need additional inner strength? Definitely. Therefore, if someone possesses morality, wisdom, and resilience, would gratitude and the act of repaying kindness become easier for them? Certainly. Gratitude and the act of giving back would naturally arise with ease. Gratitude and repaying kindness lie on the surface, while morality, wisdom, and resilience form the underlying foundation. From this foundation arises the concept of knowing enough, true contentment. Who is the richest person? It's the one who lives simply and knows when they have enough. Knowing enough consists of two parts, knowing and enough. For example, smoking just one cigarette and then stopping, or drinking just one glass of beer and stopping. This is someone who knows enough. When shopping, if you already have 20 sets of clothes at home and see the 21st set that is very appealing, but decide not to buy it, since you haven't fully used the existing 20, that's a person who knows enough. Isn't this awareness also born from the word knowing? Absolutely. When you know you already have 20 sets of clothes at home and decide to stop yourself from buying the 21st set, which factor is guiding your decision? So, is that wisdom or resilience? It is resilience. Wisdom creates the initial desire to stop, but it's resilience that helps you stick to that decision. Without strong resilience, without gritting your teeth, you'll inevitably return to the store to buy that 21st set, smoke another cigarette after the first one, or drink a whole crate of beer instead of stopping at just one. Without resilience, you cannot truly stop. Therefore, if you want to live simply and be content, you must not only cultivate wisdom, but also continuously strengthen your resilience. Your inner strength must be powerful enough to resist temptation. For instance, why is it that when I go drinking with others, no one can force me to drink excessively? Because I've trained my inner strength thoroughly. If someone insists on challenging me or even wants to fight about it, I'm ready. There was a memorable incident during my student days in Dong Thap, a province in the Mekong Delta and Plain of Reeds region of southern Vietnam. Some guys there kept shouting "cheers" for drinking alcohol, beer. They will send just one representative to clink glasses with everyone at our table. So there were 10 of them, and each time I had to drink 10 rounds, while each person on their side drank only once. By the third round, I realized it was going nowhere, so I said, "If you really want to compete to see who wins by drinking, this could take forever. Why don't we step outside, have a quick fight, and whoever wins settles it? Deal." Dong Thap has plenty of canals, I suggested. Whoever falls into the ditch first loses. When I stood up to challenge them to fight, they immediately hesitated and backed down. Why? Because they were already drunk, while I was sober, alert, and had 9 years of martial arts training. I was certain I could defeat anyone who was drunk. One kick outside and they'd land right in the canal. Sometimes you'll notice situations where logical reasoning simply doesn't work, especially with intoxicated people who can't listen or comprehend rational arguments. In those cases, you must apply strength, authority, or resilience to resolve things swiftly. When logic fails, resilience becomes even more essential. Morality can be compared to kindness, while resilience resembles authority. Kindness must always go hand in hand with authority. Those who rely solely on kindness without knowing when to exert authority haven't truly grasped the issue. Both kindness and authority are necessary when interacting with others, especially in employee management. When managing your employees, you must offer abundant kindness, but equally important is maintaining firm authority. Because some employees grow and improve through kindness, while others, if treated too leniently, become disrespectful or complacent. Isn't that right? When you're overly kind, they might become lazy. But when you show authority, suddenly they become diligent again. So when should you apply kindness, and when should you enforce authority? Wisdom is the deciding factor. Two different people might require two entirely different approaches, even in identical situations. One employee may need a comforting pat on the back and gentle encouragement. Another may require firmness. If your performance doesn't improve, next week will be your last. For this second type of employee, a single tough sentence can make them productive for the entire week, immediately bringing them back on track. Deciding when to use kindness and when to use authority requires wisdom. Only wisdom can truly determine this. Wisdom, in turn, demands you cultivate careful observation. Without wisdom, you'll constantly find yourself needing advice from others, uncertain about when kindness or authority is appropriate. For example, should a mother primarily use kindness or authority toward her child? Usually, kindness should predominate. However, if kindness continues excessively without limit, for instance, over 20 years it can lead to disrespect or complacency. The child may become spoiled, lazy, or rebellious. Kindness isn't as simple as many people think. There's a saying, morality without wisdom is dangerous. Wisdom helps you recognize clearly when kindness has reached its limit and when authority should take over. For example, authority arises when you firmly tell your child, if you continue behaving like this, you'll lose your privileges. However, authority doesn't mean anger or yelling. Genuine authority isn't aggression. It doesn't involve shouting or anger, but rather an inner strength, a firm tone, a naturally commanding presence that earns genuine respect from within. Thanks to these three elements, morality, wisdom, resilience, then you can truly understand the issue. However, it's precisely these three elements that lead many families to conflict in their parenting methods. Mothers often lean toward kindness, fathers toward authority. If both lack sufficient wisdom, disagreements inevitably arise. You're too harsh on the child, or you're spoiling him too much. That's why I recommend couples learn parenting together. Without children, this isn't crucial. But once you have children, parenting methods must be consistent and unified. Unifying your approach means aligning your wisdom, enabling automatic coordination between kindness and authority. When kindness is needed, the mother steps in to comfort and encourage the child. If kindness becomes ineffective, she naturally withdraws, and the father steps forward to assert authority. Parents should support each other this way rather than argue. If parents argue, children tend to seek out the more lenient parent. If grandparents are involved, things can become even more complicated. Thus, knowing enough arises from the pillars of wisdom and resilience. Wisdom provides awareness, knowing, and resilience offers the strength to stop. We overcome bad habits precisely through a combination of wisdom and resilience. Morality alone is insufficient. For example, if your child becomes addicted, no matter how much love, morality, you offer, it won't cure the addiction. You need wisdom to identify methods of ending the addiction and resilience to firmly apply these methods. At this point, loving your child properly requires blending wisdom and resilience. Will create love the right way, not just simple morality.